Hi, I thought I would start a new reading vlog. We are coming towards the end of the month and the pile of books on my bedside table has grown again. It has a habit of doing that, I swear, all by itself. I take absolutely no responsibility at all. So I will be finishing up as many books as I can before the end of the month. I mean, it's all arbitrary, isn't it? It's just the end of the month. I just like to have, it's nice to have a deadline. So I'm going to finish as many books as I can so that I can talk about them in my end of month wrap up soon. And in the meantime, I'm going to chat to you about some of the books that I'm reading. And I thought I would take you on a walk with me too. I mean, the weather, not so great today, so maybe tomorrow. But on Hampstead Heath at the moment, the rhododendrons are out and they are very, very beautiful. So I will take you to see those maybe tomorrow morning. I might go on a walk before work. And I'll take my camera with me. Well, that's a lie. I'll take my phone and that has a camera on it and I will use it. So let me talk to you about books. I received this proof copy in the post this morning. So this is by Arshi, who's a poet, and I've read her poetry before and really enjoyed it. Her most recent collection was called Dear Big Gods. This is her debut novel and it's published by And Other Stories and it's called Somebody Loves You. Look at that cover. It's so pretty. This isn't coming out until November, so shall we read the blurb? It says, "A teacher asked me a question, and I opened my mouth as a sort of formality, but closed it softly, knowing with perfect certainty that nothing would ever come out again. Ruby gives up talking." Let me try that again. Ruby gives up talking at a young age. Her mother isn't always there to notice. She comes and goes and goes and comes until one day she doesn't. Silence becomes Ruby's refuge, sheltering her from the weather of her mother's mental illness and a pressurized suburban atmosphere. Deft and sparkling with wry humour, Somebody Loves You is a moving exploration of how we choose or refuse to tell the stories that shape us. So that is going on my book trolley, which you can't see, but is right here. And at the moment, I'm reading, as I said, many books, but the one that I am trying to finish this week, because I've been asked if I'll provide a quote for it before publication, which is in August. This is Ill Feelings by Alice Hattrick. And I'm about, I don't know, a quarter of the way through at the moment. And this is a history of, well, it's a history of ME and CFS, but Alice is talking about her personal experience with ME and her mother's personal experience with ME. And I'm really enjoying it. It's by Fitzcarraldo Editions. So it's that blend of memoir essay that they publish and publish really well. She's reading her medical notes and her mother's medical notes and putting together a narrative. It says, "A long time ago, my mother sought a diagnosis. Upon relapsing into full-blown illness again, unable to go to her job as a lecturer in history of design, has found only more work, phone calls and confusing meetings with HR, days spent compiling documents with names like Letter to Sussex Wide ME Service .doc and Ill Health Retirement Fact Sheet .pdf. My mother must write her own medical history over and over again like a doctor, except she is also the patient." And then she's talking about diagnosis, and she says, "It was not that I didn't want to be disabled. There was no shame in that. The shame arose in encounters with able people, specifically when their idea of me and my inherent bodily knowledge of my own needs and limitations did not align with their intellectual assumptions. Growing up, I soon found that when I felt too ill to be a normal teenager, I was told I was not deserving of special treatment. And when I behaved as a normal teenager, I betrayed their idea of a sick one. After all, how was I to know what was best for me? I was only a child, but we disabled people will always be treated like children." I'm also listening to an audiobook at the moment. You may be shocked to hear that I am listening to another Nicci French book. I am listening to The Safe House, and this is I was going to say it's a slightly ridiculous setup, but then I think most crime books are. It's about a woman who specialises in post-traumatic stress disorder, who's taken on a new job outside of London, but she's given herself some time off to write a book before she starts this new job. So she's moved out of London with her young daughter, and a crime happens in the local area whereby two parents are murdered and their daughter is attacked, and the police say to the woman in the story, because you specialize in PTSD and we want to protect this girl who may be in more danger because we don't know who committed these crimes, they may still want to hurt her, can she come and stay with you? So she agrees to let this person come and stay with them with no checks, seemingly no procedures in place. Anyway, I kind of like a bit of ridiculousness, so that's where we're at, and I don't know where the story's going to go from there, but I'm enjoying the setup, so I'll speak to you about that in this video too. So I'm going to crack on with work now, but the next footage you see, I think, will be me taking you on that walk on Hampstead Heath to see the rhododendrons. I'm going to keep this segment short because someone is using power tools in their garden. I am now just over halfway through The House Opposite by Barbara Noble, and I started reading this a few months ago, and what is a big relief is that picking it up again, I've fallen straight back into it and I love it as much as I was reading. I am loving it as much as I was loving it the first time that I was reading it. You know, sometimes because books are so of a time and place, if you stop that momentum, you cannot care about it as much when you go back to it, and that definitely hasn't been the case here. I don't know how many books Barbara Noble has written, but I don't think it's very many, and I'm really sad about that. Let's see. Oh, she does have other ones. Okay, so there are 4 other ones that I haven't read. That's a relief. So hopefully I can still get hold of those. I just feel so safe in her storytelling abilities. I think that she is wonderful. This is set during the Second World War, during the Blitz. It's about Elizabeth Simpson, who I think is in her 30s, and she's having an affair with her married boss. And they are navigating that affair between bombings. She's also working as a fire guard. Is that the name that they call it? Fire guard. She has to work during the week, during the raids, to alert firemen to fires or help put out fires, along with her neighbour opposite in the house opposite, who's called Owen Cathcart, who is watching her. And I'm not sure if Owen is queer, and I'm reading this thinking it's going to be a queer story, and I'm really excited about that, but I'm just not sure if it's going to be overt. So I'll talk about that in my wrap up. Recently I watched Pursuit of Love, which is an adaptation of the novel by Nancy Mitford, which I actually haven't read. And when I saw the trailer for that film, I also thought that that was going to be a queer love story. I mean, you could say that I like to queer everything, you know, fair, but I I do think it has that element in it that's also in here. There's a lot of subtext going on, and I enjoy that, but I'm hoping that we might get some of that queerness in here too. But of course, this was written in what, the 1950s? No, she wrote it during the Blitz. This was published in 1943. So I appreciate different times and all that, but one can still hope. I also love it when books seem to communicate with each other, is probably pushing it a lot. But you know, when you read two books and you see connections between the two, I really like that. So in this, Elizabeth goes to Kew Gardens with her father. And I think I'm really enjoying the description of places in London during the Blitz and how empty and ghostly it is, because obviously there are parallels between that and how London and everywhere else has been during COVID times. So obviously very different circumstances, but you know what I mean. Empty places that would otherwise be busy and warning signs up. So it says, inside the big iron gates of the gardens, a notice warned visitors that they walk there at their own risk. No shelters were provided, and in the event of an air raid, they were advised to keep away from the glass houses. Love reading about Kew Gardens. It's a place that I miss a lot. It feels very far away. I live in North London, and going across London wouldn't be a huge deal normally, but obviously at the moment it is. So I miss Kew Gardens. It's a beautiful place. And simultaneously, I'm reading 4 pamphlets from Rough Trade Press, which are about gardening, but about decolonizing gardening and looking at gardening from that's a really hard thing to say, decolonizing gardening and looking at it from through a critical lens, which is not to bash Kew Gardens or dismiss anything like that, but to really think about why plants have travelled around the world and the historical reasons behind that, such as breadfruit being transported from country to country to feed enslaved people. So one of the 4 pamphlets has this brilliant name, which is called Horticultural Appropriation. Best name ever. And this is part of a conversation between Sam Iyer and Claire Ratignon. And they were having a conversation about this, and this has been written down. Sam said, "I think quite often mythologized notions of history are fetishized in a bid to resist social change. Even though reconsidering history is not about rewriting it, it's about shedding light on it and considering the histories that have been erased, ignored, and remain untold." And later on, Claire says, "How much money has been made from medicines that have been developed through the use of plants and indigenous knowledge of those plants by pharmaceutical companies over the years." There are so many great points raised in this and in the other pamphlets, and I'm going to be writing an article about these soon. And what I also love is that each of them comes with one of these, which is, it says "so" on it, and then it says on the back that this is horticultural appropriation, and that this one has herbs in it, and some of the other ones have wildflowers, and you can plant this in your garden or in a green space. And I think that that's a really, really lovely addition. I'll link them in the description box down below if you would like to go and find out more about them. Hi, it's a few days later. I'm sorry if you can hear the washing machine. The sunny weather has finally arrived. It is 20 degrees. It is a bank holiday. And my mum-in-law lives right next to us and she has a garden. So I'm going to go and sit in her garden and read. And Mr. M and I may play a board game or two. I thought that I would give you a little reading update. So I have finished reading Ill Feelings. Apologies for how much. I mean, this proof has been through it. So I really like this book. I talked about it quite a lot in the last clip, and I will speak about it in my wrap up. So I won't say too much more here, but I have underlined quite a few things that I really enjoyed. She said, "Poetry is not the same to the ill. The clouds look different, and so too does the rest of nature. Sick time is time to resist. If energy is money, should I ignore the signals my body is sending? Are those signals misreporting the amount of energy in my bank account? Am I running on credit? Will I need to pay it back?" So she's talking about the intersection of illness and capitalism, as well as many, many different things, and also touches on, at the end, COVID and the similarities between long COVID and reported symptoms of ME and CFS, and how suddenly a lot of research is obviously going into long COVID, which didn't for ME, and maybe there will be an overall positive from that, from the amount of research, but how as with so many things to do with the pandemic, it is really frustrating that suddenly things will be cared about, and probably for a short amount of time, from abled society, and then people will forget about it and it will become boring again. Boring because chronic illness and disability, if it is, I'm using all the air quotes, uncurable, she talks about unrecovery. You know, if you have something for a prolonged period of time and there isn't an immediate answer, people do get bored with that. And I spoke about that more when I was reviewing Gargoyles by Harriet Mercer, and we were talking about pain scales and how it's difficult for a lot of non-disabled people to imagine being in pain all the time, which I get is a strange concept to imagine, but obviously is a lived experience for many people. I really enjoyed that. I liked it a lot. And today I am going to be reading this, and I've taken off the dust jacket and put it somewhere. Oh, here it is. Here it is. The dust jacket looks like this. I know that dust jackets are to protect hardback books, but I always take it off so that this remains pristine, so that when I put it back on, it looks undamaged, even if it's got a bumped corner. Some people may do the opposite of that, but that is what I do. What do you do if you're reading a hardback book? Asking very important questions today. This is a room called Earth by Madeline Ryan, and it's set over the course of one night. This is a neurodivergent woman who's going to a party, and she's talking about all of the things she's thinking about while she's getting ready, and then all of the things that she observes as she gets to this party. And I'm about a quarter of the way in so far, and I'm enjoying it, and I'll report back later. I was reminded on my time hop from last year that around this time last year, when I went to Mr. M's mum's garden, a mouthful, and Mr. M and I were eating our breakfast, and we left our cereal bowls beside us, and a field mouse came and nibbled at my granola, which was the cutest thing ever. And if I still have that footage, I'll put it here. And the other day, I noticed in her garden too that there were 2 field mice sitting in her bird feeder. Very, very cute, so tiny, and eating the bird seed. So if I see anything super cute when I'm in her garden, I will show you. She also has a very small pond, which has 4 frogs living in it at the moment. So if I can get any frog footage, I will tell you. I will show you, and then I will speak to you later, and we can chat more about books. Okay, so I've made some small meringue nests, and I've got some whipped cream here, and I've made some lemon curd type thing. It tastes very nice. I realise I probably should have put yellow or orange in the meringue, because yellow and pink doesn't really go together. So I think when I assemble this into some kind of pudding shaped thing, it's not going to look the best, but it'll taste good. Let me tell you about a few things that I have been watching over the past few days, that Mr. M and I have been watching before I talk to you about this book, and then wrap up this vlog. I recently got 2 one's a free trial and one is a reduced trial for some Sky channels. The first one I got that I paid for is because the Friends reunion came out on Friday and I really wanted to see that, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but because I got that 2-month half price trial or whatever it was of Sky Entertainment, I thought, well, what else do they have? What TV shows could we watch? And I realized that they have Mare of Easttown, and I'd seen a few people talking about it, and I just wanted to mention it in this video because it is so good. And if you enjoy Broadchurch, I think you would love this. It's starring Kate Winslet, who is brilliant in it, and it is a crime series. It's a 7-part It's one series with 7 episodes that each are an hour in length, and we've got 1 episode left to watch, and I can't figure out what's going to happen in the last episode. I'm just obsessed. I think the pacing is brilliant, the characters are wonderful, the acting's fantastic. I don't think I can praise it enough, actually. What I think I particularly love about it is that, yes, it's about solving a crime, but it's one of those dramas that show the lives of the characters outside of their job. So we're seeing Kate's family. I keep calling it Kate. That's not her character's name. She's called Mare because it's called Mare of Easttown. We're seeing Mare in her home and her very complicated family life. And because she lives in a small town and is the detective of this small town, she knows everybody. So it's a really strange experience investigating a local crime when you know all of the potential suspects and you already have opinions of them. I found that really, really fascinating. I think it is like a cross between Broadchurch and Fargo, which I said to Mr. M, and he said, I only think it's like a cross between that and Fargo because it's set in America. He thinks it's just like Broadchurch. But regardless, both of those are great shows, and this is an amazing show. So if you haven't seen it, I would definitely check that one out. And also, I got a free, I think, 7-day trial of Sky Movies from a tip from Jean, because I've been trying to work out where I could pay to watch Promising Young Woman, which was supposed to come out, I think, last summer. I remember seeing trailers for it before the pandemic and thinking, I really want to see that, and it didn't come out, and now it's on Sky Movies. And it's starring Carey Mulligan, and it was so good. Side note, the soundtrack is incredible, which is kind of beside the point. It's a very important film, but everything about it is great, including the soundtrack. It is a film that is inspired by the Brock Turner rape trial, which does remind me that I have Chanel Miller's book on my shelf that I still need to read and have heard nothing but amazing things about that. But during Brock Turner's trial, he sexually assaulted Chanel Miller and he was given 6 months in jail. That was all. And the judge said that he didn't want to give him longer than that because he was such a promising young man, he was such a great swimmer, and all of this other not relevant information. So it is a riff on that, and Carey Mulligan is told in the film that she is a very promising young woman, and the other women in the film are promising young women, if only they would just accept the way society was and concede to violence, really. So it's a thriller, and she is seeking revenge for something that happened to her friend, and she goes out every week pretending to be really drunk, and inevitably a nice guy will take her home, and often that nice guy will try and do things that he should not do, and then she reveals that she is not drunk. It is a difficult watch, and trigger warnings for sexual assault. And what I love about it is that she is not this angelic character who is, speaking out the truth and being so dainty and whatever. Like, she does really questionable things, and she puts herself and other people in dangerous situations, but that's showing the trauma of these traumatic experiences, the trauma that comes after the other trauma. And I just thought it was brilliant. So I wanted to recommend that one too. So I am not going to finish the Nicci French book by the time this video goes up, but hopefully I will finish it by the time I do my wrap up. But I have finished reading A Room Called Earth by Madeline Ryan, and this book is okay. Like, I enjoyed it. And there were some parts of it that I really loved. As I said, this is an Own Voices neurodivergent book about a woman who's going to a party, and she has such astute observations of people in the room, and I loved those observations. This is one of them. She says, Demons and all of the scary creatures that we read about in stories are real. They aren't made up. Just look around. There are trolls on construction sites and witches behind cash registers and zombies parading en masse down city streets. I once read about a phenomenon called psychological gargoyling, which is like a clinical term for when children take on the evil traits of their parents in order to survive the trying circumstances that they were brought up in. So yeah, the monster isn't under your bed, the monster is your mum. This girl woman is like a vampire wanting a quick bite out of everyone in order to stay alive. She's fueling herself from a source outside of herself. She can't stand to be alone with her own thoughts or feelings, not even for a second. Her conscious mind and all of the choices stemming from it completely revolve around seeking sustenance from others. And right now, she's hungry, starving even. So I really liked those observations. It's obviously very stream of consciousness and it's written in a very colloquial way, like she's just talking to you. I think there are parts of this that remind me of Normal People by Sally Rooney, which I didn't get on with, and I love her other books. And I say that, my foot is going a bit numb, sorry, let me move around a bit. I say that because I think so many people would adore this in the same way that so many people adore Normal People by Sally Rooney. But I can't quite put my finger on why I don't love that. Encounters that I don't particularly believe in or find frustrating because there's a lot of miscommunication going on there. It's maybe that in those instances I feel like I step outside of the novel and I see the craft in putting those scenes together and I can't quite sink into it. And I don't know if that's because I'm a cynical person or what, I'm not sure. But there's something about those kind of scenes that just removes me from the book. But I think that's more me than the book itself. This book felt very like waves to me. There were bits where I thought I love this, and then there were bits where I just wasn't that sure about it. So overall, I did like it. It just is not going to be a favourite of mine, and that's absolutely fine because most books are not going to be favourites of ours, are they? So I'm going to wrap up this reading vlog here. Thank you for joining me. If you're new and you would like to subscribe, that would be lovely. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support this channel in other ways. I will link that in the description box down below if you fancy throwing $1 in the tip jar. Otherwise, I will see you very soon for another video and sending lots of love to you all.